Hello learners, I am Parikshit and welcome to another very exciting session on Unacademy CAT-alyst. Today's topic, toppers strategy for the mocks. How do toppers end up getting 97, 98, 99 plus percentiles in the mock examinations? And are you following the toppers strategy? That's what will be the agenda for the next few minutes. Make sure you watch this complete video because I'm going to talk about a lot of never heard before strategies, and if you can implement those 7 weeks before your CAT, you too can aspire to become one of the toppers. Let's get started. So this is me, Parikshit Saikia, your educator on the Unacademy platform with the highest live class ratings. Thanks to my learners. Yes, we have a lot of new batches coming up on Unacademy Plus, both for 2021 aspirants and for 2022 aspirants. Now, if you are one of these aspirants, you might wish to subscribe to Unacademy Plus. And remember, if you are subscribing to Plus and if you need discounts, use the code Parikshit Live, which is there on your screen. If you use this code, you will get maximum discounts, and B, you will also get free mentorship. Yeah, you heard it correct. Free mentorship from my side, and mentorship is helping you beyond the class hours with any queries and doubts. Let's get started with today's session. Okay, the topic will be topper strategy for mocks. Okay, that's gonna be the agenda. Topper strategy for mocks. Yes. Now, first thing, if you are currently not a topper, right? What are you doing wrong? That's what I'm going to discuss first. What are you doing wrong? And that's very important to understand why and what is going wrong in your current strategy, right? Now, I think the first thing that is easy to improve and I think must be on the watch list of every CAT aspirant is your accuracy. I think this is something that you got to, I think, take a pause, look back at the last 5-6 mocks that you have given and look at the accuracy rate. I would say if you want to be a topper or if you aspire to do well, this number definitely has to go up at least to 85%, 85 to 90% minimum. I would say 85 to 90% is minimum. If the accuracy is less than this, think about it, it is very difficult to end up with a high percentile. And trust me, think about it logically. You are attempting, let's say, 15 questions in verbal. You are attempting, let's say, 15 questions in VARC. And in VARC, you know what? Out of 15, you end up getting only 8 correct. Right? On the contrary, if this is happening to you, please try at this point of time to reduce the number of attempts. I think that's the first thing you are going to do. Reduce the number of attempts if your accuracy has been going really low. You might not want to solve 15 questions. Try to solve, let's say, 12 questions, okay? But can you get 11 of them correct in VRC if you're solving 12? I think that would be a challenge. And I think though is a challenge, this is easy to tackle, right? Why? Because you know what? You've already been attempting the question, just that you are getting it wrong. So make sure the number of attempts come down a bit. In that way, you can focus on accuracy. And once the accuracy, you reach that 85 to 90% mark, you know what? You reach that 85 to 90% mark of accuracy, right? You can again go on to improve the number of attempts. You can again attempt 2 more questions. Fine. But check that the accuracy doesn't go well. Anyone who is doing well in the box at this stage 7 weeks before your CAT, right, must be having minimum 90% accuracy. So do not bother about the number of attempts, but first focus on accuracy. I think that is the first takeaway of this session. Accuracy got to be very important. Okay. Having known about accuracy, next point, okay, you assume, and I will assume that you will work on this accuracy. How will you work on this? You please look at not the last mock that you have attempted, but look at the data for the last 5 mocks and take an average. Last 5 mocks and then take an average. Next would be number of attempts. I think this is another very important point. Lot of students are going wrong and keep asking, right? What should be the ideal number of attempts in a section? What should be the ideal number of attempts? See, the number of attempts would vary depending on the difficulty level of the question paper, right? If you are preparing well, you'll be easily able to answer what is the difficulty level of the paper. ideally, if you look at historical rates, I would say historical rates. Okay, if you look at historical rates, any attempts, okay, with let's say around 60% attempt, 60% of the questions, if you attempt 60% of the questions you attempt and you end up getting 50% to 55% of them correct, right? 60% you attempt, and out of the total 60%, let's say 50 to 55% of the questions you're getting it correct. This will translate to 99 plus percentile. This is based on historical rates. But also, it is not enough to judge yourself just by looking at the historical rates, because sometimes the mocks are really difficult. So what you got to do is you got to look at average sectional score, not of yours, but at the end of every mock, when your results are out, right, there is a parameter, if you have observed, which is called average sectional score. What is the average sectional score? Average sectional score is the score, okay, it is the average of all the scores of all the students. So let's say 100 students have attempted the mock and the average sectional score is, let's say, 30, right? So you can easily determine what is the average. Now at this stage, looking at the average sectional score, you got to ask yourself two things. Did my attempts, okay, will my attempts, or did my attempts, did my attempts clear average sectional score? Think about it. Clear average sectional score. I think this is the best way to gauge whether your number of attempts are correct. Think about it. Let's say the average sectional score in your VR, say, is, let's say, 30. Let's say for this particular mocks is 30 marks. So you know what? You just compare it with the number of attempts you have done. 30 marks is the average sectional score in the mocks, in your mocks this time. Okay, that's the average marks. But you know what? You have ended up attempting 15 questions. Think about it. 15 questions. So you attempted for 45 marks. So there is no problem with the number of attempts. Your number of attempts are perfectly fine. You can in fact reduce it by another 3 attempts and come down to, let's say, 12. And if you end up with probably, let's say, a 90%, 95% accuracy, you know what? Your cutoffs, or probably your score, will be greater than the average. It is very important that first point at this stage, right? You got to be greater than the average. Your score should be greater than the average. Take it one step at a time. If you are at 70 percentile, you directly cannot wake up tomorrow morning and end up with a 99 percentile, right? You got to take it up one step at a time. So first, focus on the accuracy. Point 2, look at your attempts and compare it with the average. Are you below average or are you above average? How do you look at it? Please look at the average sectional score that your mock exams will provide, right? The average sectional score. More than that, you are above average. Less than that, you are below average. And if you are below average, the first thing is to ensure that you come to average level. And if you are already above average, think about it. You are already above average. The good point would be there are around, let's say, 30,000 students who have enrolled with the mock provider. Let's take an example. 30,000 students, okay, who have enrolled. So if you have enrolled with a leading mock exam provider, let's say there will be around 30,000 students who might have enrolled with the same provider. You are in the top 15,000 of that 30,000. And in the CAT, the good part is there will be 2 lakh more students who will attempt the CAT. So obviously these 2 lakh students will be the one who are probably not serious about the CAT. That is why they have not enrolled for a mock exam. So if you can be in the top 50% of these 30,000, obviously you'll be in the top 80, 85, 90% of the 2.4 lakh students who have enrolled for the CAT. So very important that you please analyze this parameter. This will help you gauge where you currently stand, the number of attempts. Okay. Point 2. Point number three, I think we would focus on wrong selection of questions. Wrong selection. Think about it. This can be two-way. One would be the question was wrong selection. Why? A, because you do not know the topic well. B, it was actually a very difficult question. Two things, right? One is you are not aware. You don't know the topic well. Don't know the topic. Fine. This can be improved on. The other part is the question was very difficult. Now, if the question was very difficult, Obviously, there is no point with 7 weeks left before your CAT. You are still struggling probably with the mocks. There is no point, okay? There is no point trying to solve this question. Even while analyzing the mock, you feel that you're becoming a bit frustrated. You feel that there is a lot of the other things to do. You might as well skip this question. You might as well skip this question. But take the learning out of it. What was the learning out of this question? Read the question well. Try to understand why is it so difficult. Because unless you understand why the question is so difficult, if the same question, okay, probably they say change the language, comes in another mock, you will end up attempting it again and probably get it wrong, right? So take the learning out of it. The learning is, how do I understand that the question is difficult? And if I understand, you know what? I'm going to leave it. That's the learning. That's the only thing you got to do. You don't want to spend time looking at the solution, because if the problem is tough and you are anyway struggling in, let's say, Quants and LRDI, you will anyway not be able to solve this set in an examination environment where there's a lot of pressure and the time is a constraint. So generally skip this question. You don't even have to analyze this question 7 weeks before your CAT. Had this been 1 year before the CAT, I would never have asked you this. But at this stage, you can safely skip such questions. Okay, that's point number 3, whether your selections are going right. Now, in this point, there is something more which is very important that you got to understand. While analyzing the mocks, right? While analyzing the mocks, okay? You see here, every good mock provider will have a table. Every good mock provider, okay, at the end of every section provides a table. What is the table all about? The table is questions which were easy, questions which were moderate, questions which were difficult, and then they will have questions which were very difficult. These four categories they would have. You got to check. What do you got to check? Let's say they say question number 3, 4, 9, 11, they mark it as easy. First thing, you got to check, did you attempt these questions? The first thing is, did you attempt these all 4 questions? It could be you attempted 3 out of the 4. Very good. There is no problem with your selection of questions. But on the contrary, there can be a scenario where you only attempted 1 out of these 4. Means again 2 things. You know what? First is, you are going absolutely wrong in your selection of questions, and you got to focus not on studying new things and not on finishing chapters, but on selecting questions from already known chapters. See, very important. This is something you can easily improve in the last 4-5 weeks. Today, if I go and ask you, you know what? You don't know geometry, you have not done geometry well in your school, but 7 weeks is enough to be an expert in geometry. You know what? I'm lying. That will not happen. If you have never been good in geometry, let's say in school you used to hate geometry, last 7-8 months you never studied geometry, 7 weeks before your CAT, you want to start geometry and start believing that you will be an expert in that. It will not happen. So what things will happen are the things you can actually work and improve on, and definitely attempting and selecting the correct questions is something which is very easy and can easily happen, provided you put in the effort, provided you put in the analysis, right? Here it is very important that I would generally say, if you are writing the mock exam, let's say on day 1, let's say today you decide to write a mock, let's call it day 0, D0, okay, let's call it D0. Please don't analyze the mock today. People often get frustrated. The mind is right. You know what? You got to give the mind some time and space, right? You got to be fresh. You make sure that you analyze the mock next day. That is the best way, right? If you're writing the mock today, please don't analyze the mock the same day. You analyze the mock the next day. That is very important, because your mind got to be fresh. And then when you are analyzing the mocks, don't focus too much on the difficult and the very difficult questions. Don't bother about it. You don't have to bother about them. What you only got to bother are the easy and the moderate ones that you definitely got to cover. Remember, if you are able to solve 90% of the easy and moderate questions, you will end up with a 99 plus percentile. Your cutoffs, a 99 or a 100 percentile, is not dependent on getting the difficult questions correct. Trust me on that. It's not dependent on whether you got the difficult questions correct. If you get it, it's a bonus for you. Probably you have done a similar question in the class, hence you got the difficult correct. It's a bonus for you. But your focus in this last 7 weeks should entirely be on the easy and the moderate questions that come in your CAT. You got to be preparing them very well, such that 2 days before the CAT, you should be able to say to yourself that, you know what, there are 20 mocks I have attempted, and now today if you ask me, out of these 20 mocks, every easy and moderate question which has come in this mocks, you give it to me, I'll be able to solve. That is the minimum thing that you got to do. Again, some of you already might be 99 percentiles, right? This doesn't apply to you. You're already doing well, so you don't have to change your strategy. You focus on the difficult ones. But for others, this easy and the moderate ones, you've definitely got to focus on them in the next 7 weeks. You've got to ensure that 2 days before the CAT, you can tell it to yourself. No one is going to ask you, but can you tell it to yourself? Can you be true to yourself and say, you know what, easy and moderate questions, all of them, every mock, 20 mocks or 30 mocks, that are there, I have enrolled for, I can attempt all of them. If you are able to say that, trust me, you'll get a 95, 96 plus percentile in your CAT. Minimum worst case scenario, I'm telling you that. So please make sure that you cover the easy and the moderate ones. Next thing, okay, let's keep writing it. Next is guest answers. You know what? Many a time, you know what? You guess your answers. Guest answers, okay? You guess your answers. I don't say this is a wrong strategy. Many a time you guess your answers and you get the answer correct. That is a very good thing. But when you are getting the answer correct, okay, you think back and think about that logic. I'm saying that when you say ABCD, it's not that you just pick up C because it's your favorite alphabet. There must have been some logic to it. If that logic is working when you are guessing the answer, fine, you can expand that strategy even in the CAT. You can use the same strategy to guess your answers in the CAT, 1 or 2 answers, and you get them correct. But many a times what happens is, and especially in verbal, you know what, you get the answers wrong. If you are getting the answers wrong, let's say you attempt 10 questions, guess, let's say there are 10 guess questions, and out of the 10 you get only 2 correct. There is no point going for the guess answers, right? Because you are going into negatives, you are going into the negative marking zone. Please don't guess answers. You guess only if you are able to eliminate 2. Only if you eliminate 2 options. Only if you eliminate 2 options. I think that's very important. Because if you eliminate 2 options, you still have 2 options, and out of 2 options, you can definitely take a chance. 50-50, eh? So you can just take one of them, and that's, I would say, is advisable. Point number 5, okay? Point number 5 will be your question sequence. The sequence you decide to attempt the questions. Now let me give you a fine example. You know, many a times you observe and you look at this next time when you attempt a mock, you decide to attempt RCs first in your mocks, okay, or in your CAT. RCs. Let's say you end up reading 3.5 or 4 passages. Some of you might end up reading 4 passages. Let's say you decide to read 4 passages, and after you are done with the 4 passages and the questions are related to this, you go to VRC. You go to the verbal ability part, VA, okay? You go to VA once RCs are done. Now, there is evidence which suggests that many a times there is a level of fatigue associated when you read 4 passages continuously. There is a level of fatigue. 4th passage, when you read, the concentration level decreases and you are not able to give that same efficiency which you provided in the first passage. Here, apply a mixed strategy. What you do? Apply a mixed strategy. What is a mixed strategy? I would suggest attempt 1 RC, or for that matter, let's say you attempt 2 RCs. 2 RCs you attempt, okay? Once you are done with 2 RCs, take a break. When I say break, I don't mean take a break from the questions. I say go to the verbal ability questions. And once you are done with the verbal ability questions, come back to the RCs. What that would ensure? That would ensure there is a break from monotony. And once there is a break from monotony, you know what? You observe this. This has worked. The concentration level that you will be providing, right? When you come back to the RCs again, will be higher compared to if you were to attempt all the 4 RCs together in a sequence. Don't do that. RCs, verbal ability, RCs. Same, right? Think about it. If you are doing the same chapter continuously for 6 hours, you get bored with the chapter sometimes. So always better to mix and then attempt the questions. So RCs, verbal ability, and then RCs. Follow the sequence. I will tell you there will be an improvement minimum in 2 questions, and 2 questions could mean 6 marks, could mean 6 marks. Correct? Next, number six would be the incorrect method selection. Okay, incorrect method. Number six, you know what? Incorrect method. This is again one area where you can easily improve. You attempted a question, you got the question correct. Okay, let's say there are two strategies. You got the question correct or you got the question wrong. Now, if you got the question correct, the problem was you took 5 minutes in this question. 5 minutes. And if you look at the solution, there is a 2-minute approach provided. There is a 2-minute approach provided. This would mean there is scope for improvement. There is scope for improvement, and you definitely got to try to understand what the author's solution is, and next time focus on that particular method to solve that question, because it would save you 3 minutes. Very, very important. Many a times what students don't realize is you get an answer, you get the answer in 6 minutes, but you don't try to improve on that. Why? You don't even look at the solution. Why? You've got it correct. There's nothing to learn here. No, that's incorrect. Even if you have got the question correct, okay, you look at the time that you took. Every mock exam that you take, I think would give you the number of minutes that you took per question. If the number of minutes is high, that is not the strategy to be followed. It can't be followed in an examination, right? You got to change that, and for that, please look at the solution and try to work on that. This is easy to improve. Why? Because you anyway know how to solve the question. It is just that you are learning an alternative method that is easy to learn and that is easy to adapt, rather than trying to solve a question from a difficult chapter, from a chapter or a topic you are not comfortable with. And if you have got it wrong, okay, wrong, and the method is incorrect, ask yourself, was it a silly mistake? If it was a silly mistake, you feel happy about it because it will not take much time. But the problem would be it is because lack of basics. Lack of basics. Now, if it is lack of basics, I think this is an area of concern, and you got to be a bit sad about it. You got to be a bit sad about it, because you know what this would mean. You need to go back to the basics, open the books, right? Open your books, notes, whatever, wherever you're prepared from, and probably do 1 hour of basics again. 1 hour of basics again. Come back and try to solve that same question. Remember, there is no point trying to mug up something. There is no point trying to mug up something. There is no point trying to just say, you know what? Some people say, I've read the solution. There's nothing called reading a solution. You got to be very comfortable about it. It must be coming to you naturally. And for that, your fundamentals and basics got to be clear. That's very, very, very important. And I would repeat that please concentrate on getting the methods correct. It's not the number of attempts. It's applying the best method. See, number of attempts will not have increased, right? Unless you actually apply the correct method. Because if you apply the correct method, you will take less time. And because if you take less time, you naturally end up saving some time and doing some extra questions. Otherwise, if you want to increase the number of attempts, that will not happen without compromising on the accuracy. So attempts increasing, accuracy increasing can only happen if you apply shorter methods, faster methods, and you are quick in your calculations. So don't think that I'm going to attempt more, and if I attempt more, accuracy is coming down. This is a common problem, right? You attempt more, accuracy comes down. But if you want both the attempts and the accuracy to be high, the only way of doing it is you got to improve on your methods, and for that, please do look at the solution that the author or the paper setter has provided and compare it with yours. Correct? Next. Okay. Now, these are some of the points that I told you are must, and these are I think if you apply them 7 weeks before your CAT, you can go a long way in improving your score. A long way. Trust me, a long way in improving your score. And one more thing I must tell you now is regarding VARC and LRDI, okay? VARC and LRDI. You got to know which is your strength. Your strength are long passages or long puzzles, or because you know what? The long passages are often easy to do. And the short passages are often a bit difficult. So this would depend on person to person. Which one are you comfortable with? If you are the kind of person who love reading passages, don't have a problem, you can go for the long ones, because generally in a long passage, the number of the question difficulty level is easy. While if the passage is short, the difficulty level would be difficult. Every passage that you read in an RC, every paragraph you read, when you read a paragraph, you should be able to summarize it in one sentence. Trust me, you read 6 sentences and then you're going to say, take 2 second pause, 5 second pause, and then tell it to yourself, you know what? The author is being critical of the social development that is taking place in the country. As an example, that's the bottom line. That's the summary of this paragraph. Fine. Go to the next paragraph. Right. In this way, every paragraph, trust me, if an author is writing it, there is one message and you got to understand that message. It's not about reading from A to Z and then figuring out and you don't even realize what has happened. You read a passage, feel comfortable. What is the central idea of that passage? Got to be able to figure out. If you're not able to figure out, probably that's not the correct passage to even attempt in an examination. So be very clear about that. Long passages are generally easy, short passages are generally difficult. Depends on what you want. If you are slow in reading passages, you are slow, it takes time to comprehend, short passages probably are meant for you. But you know what? You are good in grasping passages. You believe that passages can be long, but questions, I definitely want to ensure that they are correct. I don't want to take a risk here. You should go for the long passages. Important. Very important. Yes? Okay. I think that is it for today. I think that is it for today. I've anyway taken a lot of mock strategy videos. I've already taken a lot of mock strategy videos. Again, I will repeat the central points that we discussed today. I told you how should you look at your accuracy. Minimum 85 to 90%. Point two that we discussed was attempt. Do you know whether your attempts are sufficient? Look at the average sectional score in the mock. Every mock, when the results are out, they provide an average sectional score. You got to be above the average. If you are above the average, your attempts are fine. You can work on the accuracy. If you are below the average, you got to work on both the accuracy as well as the attempts. The third point I talked about, question selection. Very important. You got to understand which questions were easy and moderate, and that is something that can be easily improved upon in this last few days. Leave apart the difficult and the very difficult questions. There is a very less probability that exactly the very same very difficult question is going to come. Please leave that. You're going to waste your time. 7 weeks, got to utilize your time efficiently. Point four, and the next point we discussed was guesses. How do you take educated guesses? And if you are doing a guess, the rationale behind the guess is important to understand. If that is working, apply it going forward, even in your mocks. If it is not working, don't apply that. And then we talked about the method to follow. Correct? That is it. I think that is it. I have two quick announcements to make. The first announcement is, you know what? I am starting with new batches, both for 2021 and 2022, right? 2021, every night, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. we meet, and 2 hours I solve mock questions for you. We do mock questions together because a lot of students are struggling in mocks. So every night, 10 to 12, around 12, 13 questions daily we do, and because I think this is the best way to prepare before your CAT. So if you're not joining me live yet, you still have time. You can log in even tonight 10 p.m. and you'll be able to view me live. Make sure to use the code Parikshit Live while you are subscribing to the Unacademy Plus for any discount that you want. And then for CAT 2022 aspirant, we have started a batch 29th of September. The batch is every Wednesday, 7:30 a.m. in the morning to 9 a.m. in the morning. Yes, we have just done 2 classes. If you have not enrolled yet, you should enroll because you'll have the early bird advantage, and we have just started with the basics. Just 2 classes completed. You can view the recordings and remember to use the code Parikshit Saikia for discounts. That is it. And yes, the last 2 months are left for CAT 2021 aspirants. We have a 2-month subscription. 7,000 is the price. You can get 10% off if you use the code Parikshit Live, which is there on your screen. So effectively for 6,300, you will get 2 month subscription and give you your best while we provide you the best quality classes with the highest number of questions, both in quantity as well as quantity. You want that? Do enroll with us. Use the code Parikshit Live. And yeah, there's an offer alert. You buy a 3-month subscription because you want us to be with us till your ZAT examination, till your CG examination. We will give you 1 month absolutely free. You go for a 12-month subscription, we will give you 3 months free. And you go for a 24-month subscription, we will also give you 3 months free. Again, discounts also applicable. Use my code Parikshit Live for any discount that you want anytime on any Unacademy product. And yeah, iconic subscription also available. And 4 free full length mock tests are starting soon. Do log in. Yes, that is it. For anything that you wish to get it for free and anything that you want discount, use my code Parikshit Live. That is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the session and I'm going to see you in my next class. Till then, goodbye and stay safe.